here's something that a lot of patients don't understand. Just because you had a gastric bypass does not mean you had the same gastric bypass as another gastric bypass patient. Oh my God, Dr. V, what are you talking about? There are different ways to perform a gastric bypass. But for the most part, it's going to be something like this. So hang with me. We're going to draw the anatomy, right? Here's your stomach. This is your stomach. And coming down, when you eat something, it goes down your mouth, goes down your esophagus. So this part is your esophagus, right? Here's your diaphragm. Diaphragm, not birth control. No, not birth control. Diaphragm is what makes you breathe. Moves up and down. It's like the bellows of your lungs, okay? Now, this is, down here at the bottom is your pylorus. And right here, this is the small intestine, okay? Now, I know patients like it when I get all technical. Because a lot of times, I cuss too much and I don't sound like a doctor. So every now and then when I do a technical talk, people kind of go like, oh, check him out. He might be a doctor. All right. So how are different bypasses different? There are some main precepts that are similar, but the nuances are very plentiful, how different surgeons do different things, okay? So, for example, most surgeons will create the gastric pouch first. Not every surgeon does. I don't think it really matters, but most surgeons will do the pouch first. So they're going to staple off the top part of your stomach. That's it. And you'll be disconnected. That means you're disconnected from the rest of your stomach. You cannot, here, I'm going to exaggerate this so you can see what I'm talking about, okay? They're going to disconnect your stomach. So now you're totally disconnected, okay? Now, so this is what they call your pouch. So I'm going to put in number 1 here. Number 1 is going to be a pouch. I didn't mean to get into all this tonight, but I'm just so dang excited drawing anatomy again. Okay. Now listen, under pouch, you can have a long pouch. That looks something like this. That's rectangular. You can have an egg pouch. Looks like an egg. Circular pouch. There's circular staplers. That gives you a full circle. You can have what's called a micro pouch, which really is no pouch. Micro pouch, which goes from the esophagus, and a little tiny cuff of stomach. Really nothing. Now some of you guys going, man, I want a micro pouch. I want a micro pouch. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay, here's the funny thing. No difference in weight loss. Whether you have a long pouch, egg pouch, circle pouch, micro pouch, no difference in weight loss. But there could be difference in symptoms. We'll talk about that here in a second. All right. Now, most surgeons are going to then disconnect your small intestine here and bring up the far ends, called the distal limb. Bring up the distal limb and connect it to your egg pouch, like that. Okay? And so now when you eat food, it goes down your pie hole. I'm from East Texas, so it's a pie hole. Food goes down your pie hole into your esophagus, into your new pouch, and then goes into the small intestine. This is the jejunum. Jejunum. Small part of your small intestine. And where they made this connection, now this is reconnected. This is called the gastrojejunal anastomosis, the GJA. Now because your stomach is still there. Now listen, everyone repeat after me. My old stomach is still there. My old stomach is still there. This is super important because this old stomach is actually called a remnant stomach. Some patients think their surgeon took out their stomach. No, that's a really big surgery. And unless there was something unusual, something concerning, you're not going to get your stomach removed. So you still have an old stomach. So your remnant stomach still making stomach juices. We'll make stomach juices. And these stomach juices travel down your small intestine. But now you've been disconnected. Where's it going to go? Well, the surgeon now has to reconnect it to the part that he brought up. Right? And this is called the JJ anastomosis. JJA. Why? anastomosis, right? JJ anastomosis, okay? And I'm going to erase that. I'm going to erase that. And I'm going to make this really look like an intestine. All right. Is this interesting or is this boring? If this is boring, I can go faster. Okay, now, that's number one. Your pouch could be different. Number two, your gastrojejuno and GJA can also be different. It can be end to end. So the way I drew it was an end to end, like dunk, like when you connect a garden hose to the spigot, that would be an end to end. But there's also an end to side. So what happens end to side, Dr. Vuong? Well, instead of connecting end to end, the surgeon will go up there and connect it to the side of the jejunum, like that, like end to side. So there is what's called a candy cane, like Christmas, like a little candy cane sticking out right over here. Okay. Now, so when you do an end to side, now you have a candy cane. Now, some surgeons remove that candy cane. Some surgeons leave a long candy cane or a short candy cane that stretches. We're going to talk about that in a second. Now, this part that he brings up, some surgeons put it underneath the colon. Oh, look, I did that. That's a dirty sign. They put it underneath the colon, but most surgeons these days put it over the colon, like that. Some surgeons split the omentum, some surgeons don't. But that's the basically most, and then number three, this bypass length. So where he disconnected your stomach, or she disconnected your stomach and moved it, those bypass lengths vary. What? I know, it's fucked up. It's messed up. Like sometimes, some patients get a longer bypass than another patient. This connection to this distance varies. Like where it's connected varies. So some patients have extreme dumping. Some patients have no dumping. Some patients dumping return. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Okay? So this is very variable. I know that was very technical, but I just wanted to take some time to spell this out because myth number 5, most people think that gastric bypass patients don't get heartburn. I mean, the reality is they totally could. So here's the anastomosis. This little pouch is connected to the jejunum now, like a Frankenstein thing. There you go. Okay. Now, why do you get heartburn with this bypass patients? Most commonly, if the bypass patient, like most weight loss surgery patients, aren't really taught how to eat properly, chew slowly, avoid high acid foods, etc., you will get backup. Your food, let me draw food, you eat here and it'll back up and it causes us pain. And that pain can lead to erosion. That food sitting there can lead to erosions and ulcers, right? Also, you could have a complication at this GJA. You could have a stricture. That will cause you feeling like you have heartburn, a lot of pain. And if this candy cane stretches, because that happens too, I've taken out candy cane limbs this long out of patients. Over time, okay, let me go back here. Let me back up. Let's say your surgeon left you a small candy cane. A little food sits here, and then over the years it stretches, and food stretches here, and then next thing you know, it stretches again, and now you have this big-ass candy cane. Dr. V is taking something that big out of you when I staple that off. Now, don't ask me why. Surgeons do it that way, and they don't remove it, blah, blah, blah. We don't really know. It's not a fault. Don't be thinking about suing your surgeon. It's just one of these things we're understanding. So this, when food sticks into your candy cane, it's a dead end. It's a blind end. So guess what you're going to feel like? You're going to have a lot of pain. It's going to burn. You're going to hurt, right? And back to ulcers real quick. bypass ulcer is not ulcer is not like a normal stomach ulcer. Like if you take too many ibuprofens or NSAIDs, there is something weird. And when we do this and we change the gut flora, the bile flow, stomach acid, stomach juices, some patients get this really awful bleeding stomach ulcer that is very different than regular ulcer.